Hey Deckers, it's that time of the month where we give you the rundown of the most played games on the Steam Deck by hours played for October. Thanks to Valve for keeping track of this and releasing the list every month. So let's dive in. Roaring back at number 20, Monster Hunter World. Verified on the Steam Deck, embark on heart-stopping hunts, forge legendary gear, and conquer titanic beasts in a game that's as wild as it is merciless. Running at a pretty steady 40 to 50 frames per second in most situations and pushing 60 with high to medium settings, it's running fantastically well on the deck. At 19, Defy Death in Hades. Verified for the Valiant, unleash hellish fury and seize the mythic might of Olympus as you fight for freedom in a game where each escape is more thrilling than the last, or frustrating depending on how you look at it. Runs pretty much solid 60 frames per second all the way through with this one, and with about 4 to 5 hours battery life. Detonating at 18, we have Fallout 4. Playable status on the Steam Deck, step into the aftermath of nuclear ruin, where every tick of the clock is a fight for survival. Rebuild the wasteland in a game where your choices forge the future. This runs at a pretty much perfect 50 to 60 frames per second on high settings, and you can tweak this a little bit more with some mods. Spellbinding at 17, Hogwarts Legacy. Verified on the deck, immerse yourself in the arcane as a student with destiny at your fingertips. Duel dark forces and shape the fate of the magical world. Only expect around 30 to 40 frames per second on this one with some tweaked settings. Check out our best settings guide to get the most out of this, but definitely playable on deck. Ascending to 16, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Verified now on the Steam Deck, live the life of the legend of Geralt, the superhuman slayer in a world teeming with myth and monstrosity. Again, only around 30 to 40 frames per second for the most part, especially on medium to high settings, but you can use our best settings guide to tweak the best out of this so that you get the most out of your playtime. Shuffling up to 15, Slay the Spire. Verified on the deck, with each ascent, strategize and adapt your deck to outwit foes in a tower where every card could be your ace or your doom. Perfect 60 frames per second on this one and around 10 watts battery drain, so you're going to be able to play this one for 4 to 5 hours. Blasting to 14, Brotato. Verified for its audacity, arm yourself with 6 weapons and hold the line. It's a spudtastic survival saga where you're the starchiest gun in the galaxy. Solid 60 frames per second on this one all of the way through and will get you around 4 hours battery life. Plunging to 13, Dave the Diver. Verified for exploration and exotics. Dive into the abyss and resurface to culinary fame in a game that's a double shot of thrills and skills. You want to cap this one at 30 frames per second for the best playtime and stability, and you'll only get around 3 hours battery life, but it is well worth it, and this game will keep you entertained for hours on end. Warping to 12, No Man's Sky. Verified for the explorers, chart new worlds, brave the dangers of uncharted space, and live the astronaut dream in an endless odyssey among the stars. Capping this one at 40 frames per second on the low settings will get you the best playtime, but we do have best settings for this if you want to make sure that you can get the most out of your deck. Unleashed at 11, Diablo 4. Verified for the fearless. Plunge into the abyss, vanquish the legions of hell, and rise as the saviour in a realm where darkness never sleeps. This runs fantastically well on the Steam Deck between 50 and 60 frames per second on high settings. You do want the high res pack, and if you have this already on battle.net, you don't need to rebuy it on Steam, and you can check our guide on how to run that one. Soaring to 10, Skyrim Special Edition. Playable with all new visuals and boundless mods. Forge your path, slay dragons, and become the hero in a world where every legend is yours to write. Around 40 to 50 frames per second on this one and about 2 hours battery, with a few tweaks of the settings, but more than enjoyable on the Steam Deck. Riding in at number 9 is Red Dead Redemption 2. Playable status on the deck, ride with outlaws and outwit bounty hunters in an epic tale of loyalty and survival in the wild, wild west. This is an absolutely stunning game all of the way through, and you will be getting around 40 to 50 frames per second on the Steam Deck with our recommended settings, and you will have an absolute blast. Climbing to 8, The Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Verified for its relentless gameplay. Navigate Isaac's nightmare with a roll of the dice in a game where survival hangs by a thread of fate. I can see why this gets so much playtime on the Steam Deck. It's incredibly addictive with its constant random generation, running at a perfect 60 frames per second with around 4 hours battery time. Accelerating to number 7, we have Grand Theft Auto 5. Playable status: in a world where risk is the rule, not the exception. Live on the edge, pull off audacious heists, and ride the adrenaline rush in the city that never sleeps. After looking at some of the settings from our previous recommendations, you can run this at a pretty steady 60 frames per second with minor dips, and we'll have a new guide on this very soon, but it's extremely enjoyable on the deck. Still dominating the charts at number 6, Vampire Survivors. Verified status: stand against the knight, claim your arsenal, and last the onslaught in a game that's pure survival ecstasy. Mostly runs at 60 frames per second until the horde gets absolutely humongous, where it will dip a little bit, but you can see where the addiction lies with around 3 hours battery life. Defying the Steam Deck verified status, descending to number 5, Starfield. Unsupported status on the Steam Deck, but clearly playable. Don your spacesuit and carve your destiny among the stars in Bethesda's most colossal space epic adventure. With some tweaks and the occasional mod, if you want to get a little bit better performance out of it, this is perfectly playable at 30 to 40 frames per second, but may not be the most enjoyable out of the box. Growing to 4, Stardew Valley. Verified for charm, cultivate your farm, foster a community, and harvest the life where every season is a new chapter of your story. Perfect 60 frames per second on this ridiculously chill game, which will whittle away the hours, and with around 5 hours battery life on the Steam Deck, it's easy to lose that time. Conquering number 3 is Elden Ring. Verified status on the Steam Deck: traverse a realm of grand and grotesque, where every victory is a crescendo and every defeat is a lesson in glory. Runs at a fantastic 30 to 40 frames per second with some tweaked settings, and still around medium to high graphics, but only around 2 hours battery time. You're still going to have a great time on the deck. Surging to 2, Cyberpunk 2077. Verified now on Steam Deck. Dive into the digital chaos of Night City, where every choice carves your path to immortality in the ultimate cyberpunk saga, and with Phantom Liberty, it is just absolutely awesome all over again. With tweaked settings, you're going to be wanting to play this one at 30 frames per second and push to 40 if you really want to, but you're only going to be getting around 2 hours battery time at best. Reigning supreme at number 1 is Baldur's Gate 3, definitely my contender for Game of the Year. Verified now on the Steam Deck. Embrace the darkness within, weave the bonds of fellowship, and script the legacy of the realms in a game where every decision is a battle between damnation and deliverance. Now running at around 20 to 40 frames per second depending on your settings, and with FSR 2.2 now available, we have a separate video on that. It's definitely a lot more playable than it has been, at least until you get to Act 3, so I've been told. That's the most played games on Steam Deck for this month. Let us know in the comments below what your most played games are, and be sure to check out our top verified and playable games on deck each week, as well as checking back next month to see what's been most played. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.